All right, you guys. So I got another amazing guest coming on right now. Let's welcome Jack Hammer to the channel. How are you, Jack?
Hey Ryan. Oh Ryan. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Great to have you. This is the first time me and Jack have sat face to face. We've maybe debated a bit on Twitter over the last several months. That's why I'm thrilled to have Jack. I'm very honored that he chose to join me every Monday. So Pete is going to be on every Monday. Steph's going to be on every Monday. Jack's going to be on every Monday, which is awesome for me. And I really like having people on like Jack because we don't always see everything the same way. So it's good to hear his opinion. And Jack, we're going to be talking Friday. What was it? 9:45 as well. Is that the time that we agreed on? Something like that.
Yeah, early in the
I'll let you
morning,
guys know.
9:15.
Yeah, so me and Jack are going to be having just a one-on-one show, not the 49ers morning Warriors show. After the 49 Warriors morning show on Friday, I'll be going on with Jack as well, and we'll get more into those discussions. But Jack, thank you so much for coming. I wanted to get your just general thoughts on the game.
My overall thought is that the Falcons just took it to the 49ers uh, across the board, especially on their offense. The Falcons, you knew what the Falcons were going to do coming into this game. You knew they wanted to run the ball, and they pretty much just said, "Here you go," and they stuffed it right down the 49ers' throat repeatedly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What did you think about on Kyle's side? Did Kyle do everything the way you would have done it, or what did you think about how Kyle handled the game?
I don't have a way. I don't have an issue with the way he handled the game necessarily. I it's hard to blame. I mean, you blame him because he's the head coach, and so it's his fault that he has guys like Ray McLeod and Charlie Warner who are getting deep shots down the field. He schemes them open, but do you really want those balls going to Ray McLeod and to Charlie Warner when you're trying to make a comeback? You get the ball in the hands of your best players, not your fourth best wide receiver and your third best receiving tight end.
Yeah, it would have been nice. It's interesting that we had. I would have loved to seen that play to Ray, the one he dropped. It was a great pass by Jimmy. I would have loved to seen that go to Danny Gray, or you know, I don't know. I don't know if the other guys would have been able to get over, but Danny Gray. I think Ray was maybe like a foot. He kind of caught it on his fingertips. I think Danny Gray's catching that ball. I don't know. Do you agree with that? How do you like going to Ray in that situation?
No, yeah, sure. Maybe give Danny Gray. Danny Gray's an interesting guy because he's got the speed. I don't know if he's very similar to Ray McLeod in a lot of ways as a rookie, but sure, get him on the field. There's a reason why you used the third round draft pick to pick him up, and you just keep putting him on the bench in favor of other guys. And I understand there's a special teams aspect to the 46-man roster, but get your best players on the field. And Danny Gray is just one of the guys who is a rookie that should be maybe getting some reps that doesn't get any.
Yeah, he is. I mean, there's other guys. I think like Jordan Mason. It'd be nice to see him. Other guys have struggled without Elijah Mitchell. I mean, Jordan Wilson's had a couple good games, but I think if you take away a few big runs, hasn't been the best. Nice to see what Jordan Mason can do. I was definitely looking forward to that after the preseason. I wanted to get your assessment on Jimmy Garoppolo's performance yesterday against the Falcons. What did you think of Jimmy?
He was okay. He was Jimmy Garoppolo, which you would expect out of Jimmy Garoppolo. He had a bunch of his throws under the middle, underneath and at the middle level of the field. He had a couple of deep shots that should have been completions, and he had a couple that looked like they got shot, in the air, just wobblers, because he's got to put everything into it to throw those deep balls, and so sometimes he overthrows it a little bit because he, quite frankly, has to in order to get the ball down the field like that. He was fine. He was Jimmy Garoppolo, and it would have been nice to have seen him get a little bit of help on the two deep shots that hit receivers in the hands.
Yeah. No, I mean Jimmy Garoppolo to me. I mean, I think I'm probably overly hard on him, and it's not that I think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than I think. Like I think I have a good understanding of who Jimmy Garoppolo is, but I think like sometimes it's the fans that force me to be like their reaction to him when they think he's just this amazing top 5 quarterback, and then I'm like reacting to it, and probably a little too hard on him yet, but in general. But I think yesterday I was actually pretty impressed with what I saw with Jimmy. A couple bad throws, maybe a couple missed opportunities, but in general, I liked it. It was great to see him throwing the ball downfield, which you don't see a lot. And I don't know if that's his decision or Kyle Shanahan not letting him do that. But I thought it was pretty great. GTC Real says the hammer. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, we know who Jimmy Garoppolo is, right? I mean, everybody. I didn't. I know. I heard the same thing you were hearing as far as the last 2 weeks. Jimmy Garoppolo's back. The offense is back. All this kind of stuff. And I went into the game prior to thinking, let's see what he can do. We know that he can put a couple games together that are so. I didn't think that his game against the Rams was all that great. There was a lot of screens in that game. I felt like the Carolina game was a little bit better because you saw him push the ball down the field. But then he was also going up against the Carolina team that was playing without their starting safeties and their best middle linebacker. And then you go up against a Falcons squad that's bringing their defense at you. And it's a combination of things on the Flyers offense. We can get into this as really have a whole show on probably a good half hour or more on what's happening with their offense. But you got Jimmy Garoppolo. He finally hitting a couple of deep shots and guys dropping it. You have a rushing attack that can't run the ball, and you have an offense that just doesn't have an identity at all. Kyle Shanahan's supposed to be a guy who his offense I thought was predicated around the running game, and they ran the ball 12 times after the first two series of the game.
Yeah, it seemed like he gave up on his identity early and just kind of went to the passing game once he fell behind 14 points. But, you still had a lot of time left on the clock. That's the thing that, I think one thing I criticize about Kyle Shanahan is he's always, so run first oriented. And I think that's great to have a good running game. But then if you are playing from behind, then you got to go to your passing game. And maybe not in this game. He probably could have kept running. It was very early. But when you are playing behind in certain situations and your passing game is a little bit anemic, it definitely makes it difficult. So I don't know. I'm hoping a little more balance.
Yeah. Well, here's what I pointed out this on Twitter yesterday. Here's the thing. When you talk about that, though, the Falcons, you know who the Falcons are. The Falcons are going to run the ball at you regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
They were down 21-0 I don't know if it was the fourth quarter, right at the end of the third quarter against the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. And in the fourth quarter alone in that game, they ran the ball 16 times. And they got to within 21-15. If it wasn't for a bad roughing the passer call on Grady Jarrett, they probably get the ball back there at the end of the game, and who knows how that game wraps up. We saw that happen a lot with Jim Harbaugh back in the early 2010, 2011, 13, 12, 13 season, where they would just continue. Remember 49ers Falcons, NFC Championship game. 49ers are down 17-0. How did they get back into the game? They ran the ball and they kept running and they kept running. And of course, Colin Kaepernick had a couple of passes and things like that as well. But they stayed true to who they were. You knew who that team was. I don't think we know what this team is on offense.
I think that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, they had plenty of time. They could have kept running the ball. They never relied on Jimmy to throw 41 passes in a game. It's not what he does. Even though, he had a 70% completion rate and a lot of drops. So, if those guys help him out a little bit more, it might have changed the game a little bit. Falcons Productions. Oh, a Falcons guy comes in. Appreciate it, man. Let's see. We got disrespected all week. Had to make a statement Sunday. I don't think this will be the last time we meet this year. Oh, he's calling his shots. On the playoffs. Hey, respect, man. You guys did do your thing. You guys played well. You played better than us. And, really efficient offense. I mean, offense was essentially perfect yesterday. So, yeah, hats off to you. You guys definitely deserve it. Celts Chronicles will be on tomorrow. It's much, much, much more than just this game for me. I don't trust Kyle as a leader. It's been lukewarm from him the entire 5 years. How do you feel about that, Jack?
I disagree with that. I think from a leadership standpoint, he showed me quite a bit last year when they went from 3-5 to the playoffs. I thought that showed a lot of leadership in my estimation for the way that from where they were to where they finished, getting to within, having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. I don't think it's a leadership thing. I think it's just it's a personality thing when it comes to play calling. And Kyle Shanahan is really good about sticking to the run when he's up, typically. But when it gets to the fourth quarter in games, when it starts to get tight, you see him start to shy away from that, and you see him start to go lean more towards the pass side. And It's gotten him into a lot of trouble. That's why he lost a Super Bowl when he was in Atlanta. I think that's partly why he lost a Super Bowl here in San Francisco, and we've seen it be a repetitive type of situation.
Yeah, so Celts, he's gonna be on tomorrow. Turn Up Tuesday. I have Anthony Booby Dixon coming on as well. They both are very energetic. So it'll be interesting to see their thoughts on the game. But what you're seeing right now on Twitter, and I'm seeing it a lot, and I've been pretty critical of Jimmy Garoppolo. I've been critical of Kyle Shanahan, but I've never yet said let's fire Kyle Shanahan, no matter all the criticism I've given. But I've seen a ton of it on Twitter, and I personally think you got to at least let him play out the season. But what are your thoughts? What is it going to take, actually, in your opinion, for Jed York to file Kyle? Is he going anywhere anytime soon?
I don't think he goes anywhere this year. I think it would have to be, this in order for him to be gone after this year. I think it has to be a complete and utter failure. Maybe maybe they win one more game the rest of the year, kind of thing. Because they've spent a lot of capital to get Trey Lance, and I think that they want to have Shanahan at least try to have one full season with Lance before they cut him loose if he fails then.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. Like you said, especially if they make the playoffs, I don't think he's going anywhere. I know a lot of fans are calling for that, and I've been critical of him at times. I didn't like how, I think we'll probably debate more on this on Friday. I didn't like how he used Trey, and I want to get your take about that on Friday. But I'm not in favor of firing him mid-season. When we're still 3-3, we still have a chance to get to the playoffs. And really, in the NFL, as long as you get hot, as long as you get in the playoffs and get hot at the end of the season towards the playoffs, I mean, anything's still possible. So at minimum, I want to see how this season plays out before I call for his head. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I don't see him getting fired during the season. It would be something that would have to be down the road.
Yeah, as you see, Platform 246 as Kyle must go. There's a lot of people out here calling for Kyle's head, man. He's on the hot seat with a segment of the fan base, at least on doing that.
Here's the thing: the fan base wants to fire Kyle Shanahan, and a lot of the fan base didn't want Nick Bosa to play this week against the Falcons either. So I don't know if we necessarily should listen to the fan base when it comes to these decisions.
For me, with it now, I probably was one of those guys.
I'm sorry, I'm probably shouldn't take shots at the fan base. I apologize.
Well, honestly, for me, I was one of those guys that didn't want to play Nick Bosa, and I'll tell you why. And it wasn't really because I underestimated the Falcons, and it wasn't about the Chiefs. For me, it's just I want to make sure Nick Bosa is healthy for the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he has to sit out next week, it's fine because I really feel like the 49ers are going to find a way to squeeze into the playoffs, and I just want to make sure we're as healthy as possible for the playoffs. And like it was like last week, I saw one thing I have a gripe with Shanahan, and I'll get your take on it. I know you got to get going here soon, but Nick Bosa in the Panthers game, it was a blowout, fourth quarter. I think there's like 4 minutes left, and Nick Bosa still in the game, going hard. I just feel like they got to do a slightly better job of just risk reduction, with especially players like Nick Bosa. So for me personally, I was kind of glad to see him not playing. It wasn't that I underestimated the Falcons. It's just I want to make sure he's healthy for the actual playoffs.
No, I'm with you, and I like your take as far as saying you want to be ready for the playoffs. That's why I didn't really argue back with you on that one. I was arguing the arguments that I had with what I disagreed with were the ones that because there was a lot that I received when I said that Nick Bosa should play was it's just the Falcons. It's just the Falcons. Let them rest up. We don't need him against the Falcons. We need him against the Chiefs. And I think the 49ers could have used Nick Bosa because Nick Bosa is a really good pass rusher, but he's also very good against the run. And they were missing him on that end of the field, I felt, yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I just want to tell you thank you. I really appreciate it. It takes a certain kind of character to disagree with me for so long and then still be willing to come on the show and talk to me. And I really appreciate that. And I think we're meeting. I'll announce it later on Twitter or on the show or something, but I know I'm going to be meeting with Jack on Friday for a long interview. And then he's going to be on every Monday. So really thrilled to have you. I honestly get bored when everyone just agrees. And so I'm hoping that we have some good spirited debates moving forward in the future. And then everyone, please follow Jack. You'll see below in the description where you can subscribe to his channel. You can follow him on